So today we're going to talk about some common design mistakes and some easy ways on how to fix them. If you're new to the channel, my name is Irina. I'm an interior designer and I love sharing my opinions on interior design and helping people make the right choices for their place. We're going to start with something quite simple and something that happens usually when the room is pretty small and it's kind of hard to cram in furniture and all that. And that is pinning all the furniture against the wall, which I can say I also made that mistake. Obviously, if the room is too small, you're not going to be able to do this. But for example, if you really want to pin the couch against the wall, you can create some interest by having a side table or a coffee table in front of it and have the lounge chairs or some chairs around to create some interest. And this way the space feels more filling and creates some space for socializing, which I'm guessing you want to do in a living room. Adding too much stuff. Let's say you're the kind of person that likes to collect things, or you're just really into decor and you like thrifting and you have these many pieces that you like but don't know what to do and where to put them. I'd recommend either spreading them throughout a house, as in don't have a room that's just filled with too much stuff, because it's just going to create visual clutter and you're going to just lose the interest in the pieces themselves. So let's say you found a very interesting artwork that you want to portray. If you're putting it with too many pieces of art on the wall, it's not going to create the same impact unless you had like one singular piece. If you want to have like a table arrangement or everything like that, you always have a focal point and try and keep it as minimal as you can, otherwise you're just going to lose the piece entirely. Also, who else is so tired of just everything beige? Because it seems like such a trend right now, and I think it's just overdone at this point. It's really important, if you like this style, to also add just a little bit of color. It doesn't have to be too bold. You can keep a minimal beige space and just add some interest in maybe like the pillows or a carpet that you really like, just to add a little bit of color, and that's just going to emphasize the rest of the colors, because having just a beige room all white or all cream or whatever, it's kind of boring, and I don't know, to me it doesn't really feel that relaxing. I think it's a little bit sterile and a little bit obsessive if you have just everything matching. So it's nice to break it sometimes with just a bit of color or some greenery or anything like that. Another mistake that people usually make is hanging the drapes. When you hang the drapes, you usually kind of want to have the windows enveloped and not covered by the drapes. And it's also really important, depending on the size of the room, to hang the drapes as high as possible, because this way it's just going to lift the space rather than putting it down. If the drapes are at the same level as the windows, the room is going to feel too weighted down. So it's about framing the windows in a way that's going to emphasize the windows themselves, and it's just going to open the space more. It's going to feel more airy, it's going to have more light coming in because you're not blocking it with the drapes. So this is another mistake that people usually make, and we probably did as well in the beginning, because we weren't really paying attention, or just because that's how the room was already built, as in having already the hanging bars. But it's something that can be easily changed. All you have to do is just drill some holes, or just, you know, area rugs. In this sense, I want to say that it really depends on the furniture that you have in the room and also the placement of the furniture. And I think it's really important to choose a rug after you already have the furniture, because this way you can measure up the space that you need entirely for the rug to cover and go a little bit over the furniture that you already have. If that sentence didn't make any sense, I'm going to show you some examples right now. Basically, if you have a small rug that's just in between furniture, as in it doesn't cover under the furniture, the room and the design is going to be feeling a little bit off. Also, it's just going to make it feel smaller than it really is. And I also made a mistake. I bought a rug that because I looked at the size and I figured, wow, this is big enough. It's definitely going to be big enough. Well, it really wasn't. And I'm gonna show you right now. So basically, it doesn't really cover from one end to the other, which is a little bit frustrating, but it happens. It happens to the best of us. Well, all you gotta do is either get a new rug or just get another rug that you put underneath the rug that you bought. But it feels a little bit more complicated. So I think overall, before you buy a rug, it's just best to wait until the furniture arrives. And that's just gonna change the whole perspective of the room. Trust me. It's also really important to have a little bit of a plan before you start redesigning your space. Or if you decide you really want the paint color, it's gonna be hard to pair any type of furniture that you want with that color unless you already have the plan for everything. You have to really think about the furniture that you want to pair with, or unless you already have the furniture. I think it's important to figure out the materials and the textures that would go well with the same paint color. Because I think if you choose the paint color first, it's gonna be really hard for you to rethink your design, or let's say the style doesn't really go with what you had in mind with the color. So it's just gonna be a lot of headaches. I'd suggest finding the furniture that you like first, all the rugs, the pillows, the color accents that you want, and then figure out if the color is already too much or if it still works. So design over function, which one is more important? I think always function. It's always going to be function because you're going to live in the space and you're going to have to experience it every day. So just because you have a pretty room doesn't mean it's not going to get annoying if you keep hitting your foot against that really weirdly shaped coffee table, or let's say you really want like a designer chair in the middle of the room, but again, it's not very comfortable, or you're just not using it because, I don't know, you're just not using it, so it's just in the way. Yeah, sure, it looks pretty, but over time, was it really worth your investment? So I just recommend choosing the function before you really pick out design pieces or anything like that, or furniture. So yeah, these are some common design mistakes that everyone overlooks, or they just happen to, happen. I am part of this group. I also am responsible for these mistakes, and there are things that I'm learning still, and everything's changing progressively, so there's always room for improvement, so no rush, no pressure. It's just, I don't know, things that I think are important, and they can change the perspective of the rooms. Don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps out the channel grow, and looking forward to May, because that's when I'm gonna have more trips and do more travel vlogs. So looking forward to that. See you next time. Bye.